obviously asking you the main question, is it an outside chance, or is it going to be an unbelievably dramatic win for Livingston to go up?
No, I think there's more of a chance than what I felt we would have at this stage of the season, to be honest. I think I was very vocal on that. Maybe a couple of months ago I thought it was Falkirk were a wee bit out in front, but they failed to get it over the line. So I think there's a very good opportunity for us as a football club to be playing Premier League football next year. But again, I think the probabilities are it's in Falkirk's hands, of course it is. But no, I think there's a genuine opportunity there for us as a football club to be playing Premier League next year.
When you look at it's neck and neck and they've got a better goal difference, as a manager in a silent moment, do you beat yourself up about the one or two that got away?
No, you probably do that consistently throughout the season, but even going back maybe 4 or 5 weeks, there's a couple in there where you kind of look back in frustration. We've lost 5 games of football all season in the league. Falkirk have lost 7. We've took 10 points from Falkirk, they've took 1 from us. They're sitting top of the league because ultimately they've scored more goals than us and they've won more games of football. So we've lost less games, they've won more games, we've got more draws. So really it comes down to scoring goals. I think Falkirk came into the season with a real consistency in terms of probably that group of 15, 16 players that have been together 2-3 years. It took us a wee while to build those relationships over the season because we're a new group. I think we started the season with like 7-8 new players on the park, so it took us a wee while to get that consistency. But I now feel we've got that, so we're in a good place for ourselves.
Is there a danger that this is something that people are looking at and saying, "Well, it's a foregone conclusion, you're going to win"? How do you warn your players against that?
It's been like that for day one. It's been different pressures on us for match day one. I think we've been seen as the Premier League team coming down. So there's been a target on their back. I feel you go and watch the opponent sometimes and you think we'll hurt them there, they've not done well there, they've not done well there, but then they're coming into their biggest game of the season at that point in time. So teams then sitting in a low block, a mid block. So it's brought different challenges to me, it's brought different challenges to the players and the coaching staff from probably the previous 6 seasons being in the Premier League, where we were the team maybe sitting in a low to a mid block. So the challenges have always been there for match day one, if I'm honest.
You're talking about the goal difference, Dave, but just one goal in one of those drawn games would change it completely this week.
Yeah, listen, there's probably 5 or 6 games where I feel, going back to even Morton here at home, match day 3 or something along the lines, we've kind of dominated the ball, we're up 1-0, we don't score an open goal. They got the part, they've never been in my box and they get a penalty and score late on in the game, so there's 2 point drop. Go to the most recent one, it probably sticks in my throat slightly, Airdrie away, 3-2 up, couple of minutes to go and you lose a set play. And there's a foul in the set play at the back end of the zone. So, but I think every football club could go and do that. Like I'm sitting saying that about Morton, Dougie will have 6 or 7 instances the same like that. There's actually probably, on the flip side of that, I think Morton were a wee bit unlucky at Capello not to get a goal that was disallowed, where if far they would have had the goal, so we came away with 2 points here. We're probably lucky, 3 points in total, but lucky to get the win. So you've got to kind of be pragmatic and weigh that up with other opportunities within the season also.
You can get up there.
I think it's difficult, but I think finishing second gives you the best opportunity to do that. I think third or fourth, we've got a genuinely good opportunity to get there, but you come to match day 5, match day 6, it's that schedule catches up and there's a lot of physical and emotional energy used within those games. So finishing second gives you a great opportunity to do that. And if I was going into it, I think I would rather be the team that's sitting second in the Championship than the team that's sitting 11th, because all the pressure's on the Premiership team to win that game of football, where there's no pressure on us. But under no illusions, if that's a scenario we find ourselves in, we're still got to beat the opponent who finishes third or fourth. So that's not an easy task also, because there's not a lot in this league at all, even for the bottom of the league to the top of the league. Like Airdrie were bottom of the league for a large part of the season, and I found the games against Reece and Airdrie difficult. I'm going to say they shouldn't be where they are. The league table doesn't like teams, but they're genuinely a good football team who's got them playing some good football. So there's no an easy game of football in the Championship.
History shows you though that the Premiership teams come out and top more often than not when it comes to the playoffs?
No, your history. So that's how I would caveat that on. No Livingston's history, because we were the last team to do it. I think we might have been 7 years ago, back to back. I think we were the last team to do it. So when you look at our recent history, I think that falls in our favour. I don't think anyone down, bottom three, Premier League would look forward to playing us. History probably shows that it favours the Premier League team, which it does on the schedule, but recent history at Livingston shows that we can do it.
You mentioned Falkirk not being able to get it over the line. Does that make all the pressure on them this game?
They're at home against a Hamilton team. I don't think what's going on with the SPFL and the points deductions helped the scenario, if I'm honest. Now John's probably sitting there thinking, well, if Hamilton get their 12 points back, that makes that game even more difficult. I'm sitting here thinking if Hamilton don't get the 12 points back, it's going to make the game a little bit easier. So the situation in all is no great for a variety of reasons. Falkirk, Livingston and probably teams at the bottom end of the Championship don't know what level of football they're going to be playing next year. Does it make it harder? 6,000 Falkirk fans? I'm not sure. I know 3 or 4 of the Hamilton players. I've had these Hamilton players in at Livingston, be Scott Robinson, Stephen Bradley, Ricky Lammy, Jackson Longridge, and I know their characters, and I know whatever happens, they're going to go out there on Friday night and try and win that game of football, no for any other reason than their own professional pride. But I think it's in Falkirk's hands. We all know it's in Falkirk's hands, and they've got real experience in there with wee Scotty. So I think Scott Arfield's really helped the group on and off the park.
This situation, is it a bad look for the league? You know, you've got 24 hours before it's decided and nobody really knows what's going on. I mean, it's not a great look, is it?
It's not a great look, but I'll caveat that with that we don't know the inner workings and what's going on. But what I would say, it would have made a lot more sense to have the initial hearing earlier. And if you couldn't have the initial hearing a wee bit earlier, at a fast track to appeal process, I don't think we should be going into, what is it going to be, 24 hours, 36 hours before the league deciders in terms of promotion and relegation, before there's a decision made. So I think that's a disappointing aspect. I don't think that's great, but we don't know the inner workings and how difficult that might have been or how complex that might have been to achieve.
When you look at the possibility of 3 teams that are trying to avoid that playoff place, a few weeks ago when we actually were here, you said you still felt confident because of what you had at your disposal, that if you were in a playoff that you could make it back to the Premier League. When you see those clubs, you've obviously watched them and studied them, you still feel that way? Yeah, I think I'm a big advocate of kind of a 16-team league, so I've been very vocal on that, so that then lends itself to I must back the top 4 in the Championship, and I generally don't think on a week-to-week basis there's a lot between probably 8th place in the Premier League, maybe down to top 4, top 5 in the Championship, and I think I'm educated enough to give that opinion because I'm probably one of the Jim's done it, but I coached and managed in the Premier League for 6 years previously, then a year in the Championship, so I don't think there's a lot probably for 8th place down to maybe 5th in the Championship. So, can you tell me what your approach is going to be in this match? Is it just same as, or do you alter it because of what's at stake and what might happen?
No, we need to go out there and win the game, so we're going to have to play our strongest team until, if again looking at Saturday there, if Falkirk had got the 3 points on Friday night, I'd have changed my team going into the game on Saturday. There's boys walking tight ropes, there's boys with niggles and knocks, and I want to be as strong as possible going into the playoffs. So again, we're going in to win this game of football first and foremost. We need to go and beat Partick Thistle. Partick Thistle need to go and beat Livingston, but there's going to be a lot riding on the game, and I think there's going to be 2 sets of fans giving you information. So you're going to have the Partick Thistle fans probably are letting the Partick Thistle players know the Rafe result, and you're going to have the Livingston fans kind of letting you know what the Falkirk result is. So our approach is to go and win that game of football, but within the game I'll need to be adaptable to what's happening elsewhere, for want of a better word, because we have got boys walking tight ropes in terms of suspensions, we have got boys with niggles and knocks, but if we've got an opportunity to get automatic promotion, we will be doing everything within our possibilities to do so.
Just looking back, Davey, on this championship season as a whole, reflecting on it, how do you reflect on it? I think there was a point when you get relegated, there was a point of going, you might not see Livingston again for like a few years because of X, Y or Z, but you came back
I think
really
that's
strong.
probably people writing me off.
Yeah, well, maybe, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm alright with that. I've kind of been an underdog most of my life. I think one of my biggest traits is my resilience. So I knew what we had in the building. I knew what me and my staff could do, and I knew how to do that. So I don't think there was anybody had us in win the league. Anybody. It was all United, Falkirk, Partick Thistles. So I don't, and Raith Rovers at that point, to be fair. So nobody, you look at these things, people send you these things. So I think we were kind of bottom half, mid-table. What you probably just said. If we were in a relegation battle, there'd have been a lot of the critics saying, I told you so. But I know what I can do. I know my capabilities. I know the staff's capabilities. And then it was just about getting that on the park and making that happen. And whatever happens in the playoffs or whatever happens on Friday, I think that group of players and that group of staff deserve a lot of credit. They've went and won a cup. A little bit unlucky not to be in a semi-final at Hampden. Went up to Ross County, beat a Premiership opponent in the Scottish. Was a wee bit unlucky not to go through with St Johnstone in the Scottish. We've lost 5 league games all season. We've beat the team above us. We've took 10 points off them. There's a lot I think we've got the most clean sheets in the league. I think we've got the best XG conceded in all competitions in Scotland, and the second best if you just look at the league only, with Celtic's the only team that kind of trump us with that one. So there's a lot of stats that have fell in our favour this year, and that's testament to the group of players in there and the staff that's in there, because every single one of them has played a huge part. But I think we can get back to the Premier League, I do. But see if we don't, I think you could reflect on it. There'll be disappointment there, obviously. But I think you could reflect on it and say it's been a semi-successful season.
Can I ask you one last question, which is clubs are looking for managers now, sometimes based on a new system of selection. Jamestown Analytics was heralded as some visionary process for managers to get great results with fabulous recruitment. What's your view on the way clubs now are recruiting managers and how you guys are trying to get jobs?
It's not going to change me personally. I have to adapt to the game in front of me. So first and foremost, if you strip everything away, I think the most important thing is the game, 3 points, that game. I've had a different approach to this season what I did last season. We've got a comparable budget with most teams in the league. The teams that have got bigger budgets, and it's no insignificant that you can't bridge that gap. So we've approached the season, this is how we play and this is how we're going to play. But that would never ever come into my thinking in terms of this is what's best for David Martindale and this might help get me a move. So data, we're very big in data. I'm very big on data. But I think there's a point, data puts the radar on whatever the metric is, whatever the personality is, whatever the player is, but I think there's still got to be eyes over data. So data will highlight, but I think then you've got to get a feel. There's got to be the eyes over data, and I always speak about this. Data doesn't tell you a manager's personality. Data doesn't tell you a player's personality. So personality for me, I think when you look at some of the best managers in the world, they matter in their win ratio. I think when you look at their personalities, you can see that trait within their team. If you go and look at Simeone, for an example, you can see his traits within the athletical team, and that comes down to personality. That doesn't come down to data, that comes down to personality. You go and look at Ancelotti, I think the one thing you would label with Real Madrid is they're so elegant, they're so graceful. Again, you would probably say that about Ancelotti, Pep, do you know what I mean? So I think data's good and it's here to highlight, but it would never be the primary motivator for me, because I think a lot of it comes down to chemistry, relationships. Man management plays a huge part in that. Does data tell you how a manager interacts with players on a daily basis? Does it tell you how he interacts with his staff on a daily basis? So for me, data's hugely important, but I think then also it comes down to personality as well. And someone's data, let's say, I don't know, the Belgium top tier. I just use that as an example. Switzerland, maybe use Belgium, people are going to say I'm reverting to Rangers. Use Switzerland, I don't think we've got any Swiss managers in the league, have we? So I can't get, I'm not biased here anyway, right? So use Switzerland, use the data from a manager in Switzerland. It's different types of football. Scottish football is unique, you know. I keep hearing how bad Scottish football is. Rangers, would you agree, has probably not had a great season, right? They've not had a great season. Spurs struggled against them, and Man United were lucky and they put Fenerbahce out. But if you turn on telly and turn on your TV, all you're going to hear about how poor Scottish football is. So someone's data coming from a different country with a different style of play, I don't always think it's relevant to the market they're going to be working in, which is unique. I think Scottish football is unique in terms of the intensity and the passion and the emotion that's involved. And I think personality of players and personality of managers is hugely important, and that's a one metric that data can't tell you. When you're turning on your laptop and you put stats in, it can't tell you that.